Guten Tag, herzlich willkommen. Rosh bash, zor b'kher ben, und b'kher haten, ser chava. So it's with a great honor and excitement that I welcome you to the launch of our independent media platform, the Amargi. Let me begin by extending my deepest thanks to each one of you for being here today, coming from across the Middle East, Europe, the US and beyond. Your presence gives meaning to this moment, and your support reminds us that no idea can grow without a community to nurture it. Our region, as well as the world in general, has been going through dramatic transformations with the arrival of the new century. Those transformations, however, have not always advanced political and social consciousness. Today, we are living through critical times. Societies are polarized, and democracies are declining. Truth is always among the many victims. In the early 2000s, just after the US-led invasion of Iraq, dozens of newspapers and media outlets mushroomed in the Kurdistan region of Iraq, my part of Kurdistan, inspired by a promise of democratic transformation. I personally started my journalism during those days with the hope of a better future. For some time, it felt as if history had opened a window and we were rushing to breathe the fresh air of freedom. The early 2010s were a time of hope across the Middle East and North Africa. People were dreaming big. Protest movements were rising, students were organizing and questioning the system. Journalists were exposing corruption and challenging power. Civil society was alive with energy. Women were collectively resisting the male-dominated system and were organizing to dismantle the oppressive pillars of patriarchy. This manifested in many different grassroots movements and initiatives with various perspectives for genuine system change and transformation. And yet, what began with hope too often ended in despair. Those in power had their own plans. They responded to popular demands with repression, assassinating journalists, including my colleagues, jailing dissidents, including my colleagues, and driving many into exile, including many of us here. In 2011, when Kurdish youth took to the streets in Slemani, inspired by what was called the Arab Spring, they were met not with dialogue, but with ballots by their own representatives. As democratic forces of the region tried to liberate themselves from the chains of neocolonialism and authoritarianism, various reactionary forces reorganized through nationalism, religious fundamentalism, sectarianism, and patriarchy. When one ideology lost its appeal, they resorted to another. Currently, across the region, the voices of backwardness are on the rise. And the voices of freedom are being exiled, marginalized, imprisoned, and intimidated. Today, the Middle East is more often associated with war and violence than with historical mosaic of cultures, faiths, and languages. One of the main methods employed by authoritarian regimes to sustain themselves is the control of information. In such unfree atmospheres, the media is not a space of truth, but an instrument of power, propaganda, and intimidation. According to Reporters Without Borders, journalism in the Middle East and North Africa remains among the least free in the world. Nearly half of the countries in the region fall to that very serious category of press freedom, meaning journalists are not free at all. Palestine, under bombardment, is the deadliest country for journalists. In Iraq, Iran, Syria, Yemen, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Tunis, and other regions, speaking truth to power comes at the cost of exile, imprisonment, or life itself. At this critical juncture of history, then why the Amargi? We, a group of journalists, academics, and activists, recognize that we stand at a critical juncture in history. where shifting geopolitics and resurgent authoritarianism demand new voices, new platforms, and new commitments. Our communities, both in our regions and in the diaspora, are in need of a media that does not simply echo the narratives of the region's powerful elites or narratives promoting Western interests, but dares to imagine alternatives, a media that represents the people's interests. This is why we found our guiding reference in the meaning of an ancient word from our region, Amargi, means freedom. In different languages, the meaning and promise of this word has guided divers struggling for millennia. We believe that journalism, as it is best, is an act of liberation. We know that without independent media, democracy cannot survive and justice will always remain a distant dream. Hence, the Amargi. At the Amargi, we want to be a beacon of truth in a region where democracy is fragile or non-existent. Our aim is to stand with the oppressed, whether they are in Kurdistan, Palestine, Iran, Iraq, Tunis, or Turkey. We will always speak against authoritarianism, whether it wears the clothes of nationalism, religion, or liberal democracy. And let me be clear, yes, majority of us on the team have a Kurdish background, but we will not excuse Kurdish rulers when they betray the values we stand for. Kurdishness can never be an alibi for authoritarianism, for corruption, or for the silencing of dissent. True loyalty to our people means loyalty to justice and truth. But there's also another question, why, some may ask, do we launch the Amargi here in Germany, in Leipzig? Not from Erbil, far from Erbil, Tehran, Istanbul, Beirut, Cairo, or Diyarbakir, Ahmed. The answer lies in the difficult conditions in Kurdistan and the Middle East. Due to decades of war and conflict, as well as authoritarian repression and socio-economic problems, many Kurdish journalists have found themselves in exile. Many of us had to leave our homes to continue our work safely and with integrity. While it is painful to be far from home, to continue our work safely and with integrity, while it's painful to be far from home, exile can also provide space to reflect, to create, to speak without immediate fear of reprisal. In Germany, we found each other again. Here we also found conditions to build something that can serve not only Kurdish people, but all those who struggle for justice in the Middle East. Here we interacted with global communities of activists, academics, artists, and journalists who know that the fate and struggle of one people are never isolated. They are connected to broader struggles for freedom everywhere. However, let's not be naive and take this democracy for granted either. Freedom of expression is also declining in Germany and in Western Europe in general, alongside the rise of the far right. European states now separate the truth about events in conflict zones when it does not serve their interests, as well as we can all see in the case of Gaza. Many journalists and media outlets in the West function as a mouthpiece for governments or corporate interests. In light of this, the Amargi does not take this relative freedom space for granted. Instead, in a time when the free press is under threat everywhere, we also fight to not merely defend, but also expand the space that liberal democracies provide. Our principles will therefore not be determined by where we are. They are universal, and our core values are simple yet ambitious. Independence. No government or party or private entity will dictate our content. We are grassroots funded. Neither states nor corporate interests can dictate our editorial policies. Integrity. Facts, not truth, not interests, must guide analysis even when inconvenient. Justice and inequality. We are committed to amplifying voices too often silenced: women, youth, minorities, and marginalized groups and oppressed communities. Courage. We will not shy away from difficult truths. even when they challenge our own societies. Hope. Because without hope, journalism risks becoming only critique without vision. This is why we believe in independent journalism as a vital need for the path of freedom. Dear friends, we launched the Amargi as a promise to build together a platform that reflects the dignity of our peoples and the urgency of our times. A promise to honor the sacrifice of those who came before us, while creating space for new generations to dream and to act. Thank you for standing with us at the beginning of this journey. Thank you for believing in independent journalism, and thank you for believing in freedom. Amargi.